Hello and welcome to today's episode in which I try and veganise a chicken liver pate. Before going vegan, I was a huge fan of making chicken liver pate and also ordering foie gras pate in restaurants. Yeah, it's terrible, I know. But yeah, I really miss the flavour of it. So I'm going to have a go at veganising it, see if I can come up with something. I've been kind of whirring this over in my mind for a while, thinking how I could do it. And then my mum sent me a recipe by a chef called Alexis Gauthier. Now, I happen to have his cookbook, Vegetronic. He's a Michelin-starred chef who went vegan a little while ago. The recipe, I don't think, features in here. I didn't see it. But yeah, Mum sent me it and I think it's on the PETA website. Mine will be similar to his, but a little bit different. I'm going to use slightly different ingredients, partly because I want to, and partly because I don't have all the things that he has. I also wanted to make like a bread to eat with the pate and thought, oh, I'll try making some gluten-free bread. Why not? So we're going to have a go at that. I'm going to get the bread on first because that needs to cool right down before it can be eaten, because otherwise the structure gets a bit messed up. I found the bread recipe on dishbydish.net. I'll stick the link in the description for you. It's in cups, so I'm going to convert it to grams now as we're going along. We need 3 cups of gluten-free all-purpose flour. So that's come out at 433 to be precise. Teaspoon of baking powder, teaspoon of baking soda, half a teaspoon of salt. I'm going to add a teaspoon of xanthan gum. Just check your flour, and if it does have xanthan gum in it, then don't put the extra in. So if you look on your ingredients here, it'll show if it's got the gum in there. The gum binds everything together in there. So I'll add a teaspoon of that. So it's a slightly kind of off-white powder, very powdery and soft in texture. And then I will sieve this together. And I'll get the whisk in just to combine everything really well together. The trouble with converting cups to grams is cups just aren't very precise because it comes down to how tightly packed the flour is, what kind of flour it is. So I always recommend doing things in grams if you can. Then we need 110 grams of coconut oil, and you want it to be the refined one. So you're looking for like odorless coconut oil. So half a cup, 110 grams. So here's the coconut oil in little pieces. But first, I'm going to remember to preheat the oven. So that needs to be 375 Fahrenheit or about 190 centigrade / Celsius. I'm going to drop the oil in, and then I need to kind of mash it with a fork to work it into the flour. According to the recipe, the oil does need to be hard. You can't do it while it's liquid. I don't think it says why. If it does, I'll pop a little note on the screen. So just kind of mash it against the side of the bowl. Keep working that in until it resembles sand. If the recipe comes out nice, if it's good bread, I might do this in the food processor next time, because this is really hurting my hands. But yeah, because I can't see why it wouldn't. So yeah, it might be worth a shot, because it takes a lot of force to break down the coconut oil. So it's just, yeah, it's setting off my joints quite badly. But there'll be more talk about joints in just a minute. It's all mixed in. I could probably take it a little bit further. There are some little clumps, but my fingers are really hurting. Yeah, it looks like sand. It's kind of sticking together a little bit. Then we need 1.5 cups of plant milk. The recipe states almond milk, but then in the notes it says any is fine. I use Mighty Barista, which is a blend of pea, oat and coconut. So it doesn't curdle when you put like really strong coffee in it. It's nice. So that's coming out at 333 grams or mils. It's the same. And then I need 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. So I'm just gonna squeeze it into a separate cup with a sieve on it, just to stop any pips. The lemon juice into the milk. So that's 1, 2. It was 1.5 lemons and I've got maybe a teaspoon left, something like that. Push a little well into the middle of the flour and oil mix. Pour in the milk and lemon juice. I'll go in with a Danish dough hook. See any immediately apparent bits of coconut oil, I'll try and break those up. Go in with my hands and kind of pull it into a ball. And make sure there's no dry bits anywhere. The recipe does state that it's quite a wet, shaggy dough, so I think this is okay. I've got my cast iron skillet with a bit of baking paper in there, so I'm going to pop the dough ball in there. If you scrunch up the baking paper into a ball, it makes it a bit easier to fit in there rather than just pinging back out again. So I'll try and shape that somewhat into more of a round. I'll use a sharp knife to then cut across into the top of the bread, and I believe that's to help it cook quicker and evenly. Then I'll slide this into the oven on the middle shelf. I've set my timer for 55 minutes, and then I'll check it, and then if needed, go in a bit longer. Very quick tidy down, and then we'll start on the pâté. The bread's been in for about half an hour. Let's have a little peek at it. So it's doing pretty good. Yum. So it's now time to crack on with the pâté. But first, I'm going to introduce you to my new body braid. So if I take a few steps back, hopefully you'll be able to see it still. So this functions basically as like external ligaments, which is perfect for bodies like mine that are stupidly bendy. So it provides a bit of extra support on all of my joints. So from the looks of it, it's 2 loops of elastic that you then kind of wrap and braid around your body. I'll put the link to their website in the description. I've paid for this. It's not a promotion or anything like that, but I just wanted to share because I think it's a fantastic invention. I've got the full system here. It comes as a core piece, which is the top, which then wraps around the back, provides a lovely bit of support to my lower back there. And then you have loops that you can either wrap around your knee as a piece so you can walk in it, or you can just do it as a loop, a more simple loop for when you're sitting down, and then you hook that over your knees. Now the developer recommends starting with the core braid and just getting used to sitting in it, because what it does is it retrains your core and your body into being in a better posture. This is, I think, the 6th time that I've worn it, and after perhaps the 3rd time I can already tell a difference. I'm becoming much more mindful of where my shoulders are, because normally I'm a bit like that. But I'm becoming more aware and rolling my shoulders back, getting some distance between my shoulders and my ears, and it is lessening my pain quite a bit, which is just, honestly, I can't express how amazing that is. The company's over in Canada, and they do completely free worldwide shipping. So I thought I might as well go for the full system. So that's the core and the 2 extension straps that comes with it. Well, 4, you get 2 pairs, because I knew I'd end up using the full system at some point. The full system with the leg straps does become a bit of a mind boggler because you're trying to wrap it and not twist it completely. But you book in a Zoom appointment with Blair, who's the developer, and Nancy, who works with him. They're amazing human beings, just genuinely lovely, lovely people. So it was a really nice, it was a moment where I felt very seen, because I think he's kind of developed it for hypermobile people in mind, but all sorts of different people can use it as well. There's several videos on their website where Blair runs through how to put it on, how to adjust it, all of that kind of thing. So you're not just buying the thing and then being left in the dark. You can email them if you've got any questions, anything like that. You can wear it in so many different ways as well. So if you don't want so much pressure against your stomach, you can just have the sides straight. I kind of like that feeling of being kind of, you know, held in and cuddled. It does, it feels like a hug. Normally when I'm filming, I wear the soft braces, you know, like the kind of sports type things that you wear. But I get fluid buildup in my legs, in my lower legs. Then I get really sore skin where the compression's been. Whereas these, I've had it on for maybe 2 hours already, and I can already tell I'm not going to have any of that sensation from this. If you've got any questions about the braid, feel free to leave some comments and I'll do what I can to answer them. But, you know, ultimately they're going to be your best bet, and they're very, very friendly, very helpful indeed. But yeah, feel free to ask me any questions about my experience of wearing it. On to the pâté. I'm using split red lentils for this, but I imagine it will work well with anything really. This is just what I had in the cupboard, and it cooks much faster than the puy lentils. So that is, I mean, it's, I don't know, a scant cup, but it's 125 grams. But as with many of my recipes, the measurements don't need to be exact on things like this. I'll bring that to a boil with 375 grams or mils of water. So it's going to be, I don't know, like 2.5 cups. So I'm going to add about a tablespoon of olive oil to a frying pan. You want quite a heavy base pan for this. Once the lentils start boiling, I'm going to pop a lid on and then drop that right down so it's a low simmer. Mine goes up to 9, I've got it on 3. I've got my timer set at 6 minutes, and then I'll try it every minute because I want them not too soft, not too mushy, but I don't want them too crunchy either. I'm going to use 1 banana shallot. So I'm just going to trim off one end, split it in half, and then just peel off the outside layer. The outside couple of layers if it needs it. I've opted for shallots because the flavour is much milder than a regular onion, but if you can only find, you know, like red onion or white onion, use maybe half. And what you could also do is pat some of the juice out of it with a paper towel, and that'll take some of the intense onion flavour out of it. So I'm just gonna thinly slice these. Everything's going to be blended up though, so it doesn't matter really what the texture is. Just drop the lentils down to 2 because it's seeping over the edge of the pan. And then I'll drop the shallots in. And then we're going to fry those off for a couple of minutes until everything's soft. Just break them down a touch. I've got this burner on 6, and again, goes up to 9. I'm using fresh herbs for this. Fresh is going to be nicer, but if you have to, use dried. I'm going to use sage, thyme, and then rosemary. So we'll just chop that down nice and fine. And just keep stirring your shallots, make sure they don't burn or anything. So with the sage leaves, I'm just going to pull the stems off because they can be a bit woody. And then I've piled the sage together and then just run the knife through. That's kind of what you want. Could probably do with a little bit more sage, but that's all I could spare. And then same with the rosemary. I'm just going to pull the leaves off and leave the stem because the stem's really woody on rosemary. This has a tendency to ping everywhere when you chop it. Oh. Thyme's a little bit softer though, so just check your stem, and if it feels quite soft, then just chuck the whole thing in. That's fine. These thyme leaves are really small, so they won't need much of a chop, but just very rough. Rough chop. So that's the herbs, all nicely chopped there. The lentils are nice and tender. There's a bit of liquid there, so I'm just going to drain them in a sieve. Timer for the bread's gone off, so I'm going to check that. I think the reason for doing it in a cast iron pan is so that the bottom can heat up as well. But if you haven't got that, maybe do it on like a pizza stone or just a baking tray. Like the heavier, the better, the thicker, the better. So apparently it should sound hollow when I knock on it. It's lovely and golden brown on the bottom. I don't know how well that will come out, but it looks a little bit soft there. So yeah, I'll do another 5 minutes. It reminds me of something and I can't think what it is. Nice though. I think that's going to be great with the pate. Giving the mushrooms just a very quick clean by rubbing them on paper towel. You really don't want to put these near water because they'll just suck it all up. You can chop them, but I just do it by hand and just tear them apart. Just as easy. Bread timer's gone off. Everything's happening at once. Yeah, I think that's good to go. So I'm going to put that on a cooling rack and then just leave it until it's completely cold. I'll crush in 4 cloves of garlic. These are quite little ones, but you know, depends how much you like garlic, I suppose. Stir that in and then add the herbs. Let that fry for a second. Add in the mushrooms. Give it a good stir to combine everything. Get the mushrooms coated in a bit of the oil. I'm going to add a tablespoon of brown miso. Just break it down a little bit and dot it around. Maybe that's more like a tablespoon and a half, 2 tablespoons even. Mix that in. Gautier uses soy sauce in his, but mine's really dark and very intense in flavour. So I think the miso is just going to give a slightly more subtle saltiness and a bit of umami. I'm turning the heat up a little bit because I'm about to add some alcohol and I want it to burn off quite quickly. Typically pate is made with brandy. I'm going to pop some tequila in mine. I've done like a mushroom pate in the past and I put tequila in and it tasted very liver-like, kind of quite gamey. I'm going to do about 2 tablespoons, about a shot if you've got a shot glass handy. Work that in really well. Oh, the smell coming out of here. I'll let that bubble away for a minute or so and then I'm going to drop it down just so nothing scorches. I've reduced that to a 4 now, so it's just much more gentle heat, and I'll let that cook for about 5 minutes or so. I'm going to blitz everything in the food processor. If you want it completely smooth, do it with a blender, but I want a little bit of texture in there, so I'm going to do it in here. Chuck in the lentils and I'll give you the cooked weight, let you know how much it is. It's about 350 grams-ish. The Gautier recipe uses toasted walnuts. I didn't have any, so I'm going to try it with cashews. So I've just toasted those in the air fryer. These have been in the freezer. That's where I store mine. So I toasted them, I want to say 160 degrees for about 7 minutes. Just shake them 2 or 3 times just so they don't burn. So at the moment I've got the lentils and the nuts in there. Add the mushroom mixture. Then I'll add a good crack of black pepper. Drizzle of olive oil, maybe, I don't know, a tablespoon, something like that. The other recipe uses beetroot puree, I think to give it a nice bit of colour. I'm going to use beetroot powder, which is just dried beetroot that's been powdered up. Mine's all clumped, so I'm just going to sieve it a little bit. So I'll tip it all in and then decide how much I want in there. I'm going to start with a teaspoon or so, and then we'll take it from there. Lid on, and then give that a blitz. Just gonna have a look inside, scrape the sides down I think, because I can see it kind of clumping a bit on the sides. And it's not quite pink enough, so I'm going to put in a bit more beetroot while I'm at it. That's how it's looking at the moment. Make sure everything on the sides is pulled back into the main mixture. I'm going to check the flavour at this stage, see if I want anything else in there. I'm going to do another blob of miso. I think this might actually be red miso, thinking about it, which is a bit milder in flavour to brown. So just do a bit, mix it, and then do a bit more if it's needed. Or you can just use salt at this stage if you want. I'm going to do another little splash of tequila, probably half a teaspoon, but just do it to your taste. And some more beetroot. Lid back on, whiz it up. So we're after the second blitz. Might do a tiny bit more beetroot. Might pop in a tiny bit of salt. Not much at all though, like quarter of a teaspoon, just because I don't want any more flavour in there. I just want salt, just to lift it a tiny bit. So that's where we are. So what I was looking for with the beetroot is just to give it a little bit of a kind of pinky colour, just so it's like liver pate. So yeah, that's about it for me. But feel free to put as much in there as you want. If you want it magenta, that's fine, you go ahead. I'm going to put the pate into these little dishes, which ironically I think came with meat pate inside them years ago. Let's pack it in nice and tight. You can put all of the mixture in one big jar, but I want to put melted butter on the top. And obviously, the deeper the jar, the less butter you're going to get each time you go in. That's about what you want. So there's maybe, I don't know, half a centimetre, something like that. So I've got 4 and then a dish of extra. I'll let these cool off for another few minutes and then put them in the fridge for maybe 10 minutes and then melt butter and flood the top of it and then put it back in the fridge. I wonder if that would make a nice filling for ravioli. I think it would. So I'll see you back here once the bread's cooled down. It's time for some bread and pate. I bet you're expecting me to drop that, weren't you? So it's a couple of hours later. I poured over the butter. All I did was heat it up on the stove. Careful not to let it bubble too much because it can then become brown butter. Poured it over each of the pates. I think about 150 grams of vegan butter altogether. So let's crack the bread open. The texture of it reminds me maybe of a scone or a scone, however you like pronouncing them. Okay. So yeah, it has got a very nice bready texture. Ooh, okay. Any bits like that, you can either eat them like that or chuck it in the air fryer, and I bet that'll make some great croutons. Yeah, texture's very bread-like, very, I guess sourdough maybe. So that's come out real nice. So the pate's got a really nice texture. It's not just collapsing everywhere, it's just sort of holding up. Bread's falling apart a bit, but that's really good. The bread has got a nice chew to it. It doesn't taste boozy, despite the fact that I put the tequila in after I'd mixed it all, so it wasn't cooking out anymore. But I mean, it tastes like it's got something in it, but you wouldn't necessarily, oh yeah, that's tequila. I think if I use the food processor to mix the oil and flour, then that's going to be a really easy, fairly quick meal to make. Yeah, it was doing like blending the oil in. That was, I think, kind of the hardest bit. I think if you wanted to do a nice charcuterie board, you could definitely do this pate, that bread, the smoked mushroom pate, and then maybe some of the not meats, and that would just be a great little board to tuck into. For more meals that can be made with marvellous mushrooms, hit subscribe, tap the bell icon, check out this one.